All right, guys, these are math boxes 7-8 on page 239. Remember, I need you to do your math boxes first on your own, and then you can watch the video to get some help and to make sure that you did them the right way. But please make sure that you have done your math boxes before you watch this video. So if you have not, turn the video off and get those math boxes done. All right, number one, you are to complete the number line. When we look at our number line, we can see that it is divided into 1, 2, 3 equal parts, so it's divided into thirds. Here is 0 thirds. Right here would be 1/3. Here would be 2/3. And then, of course, at the end would be 3/3, which equals 1 whole. That's pretty easy, right? All right, you're going to circle the names for 30. Remember when it says names for 30, that just means any of the number models or equations that equal 30. Okay, so 3 times 10, when I multiply by 10, put a 0 on the end. So here you go. 3 times 10 is 30. All right, the next one. Remember, do parentheses first. So 2 times 5 is 10, and 40 minus 10 would equal 30. So you're going to circle that one. The next one, do parentheses first. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 plus 5 equals 25. So this one will not be circled. Moving on. All right, here's where you're going to get some practice with finding out or comparing fractions to 1/2. So in every single one of these problems, you are comparing your fraction to 1/2. Remember, guys, you should be able to compare absolutely any fraction to 1/2 and be able to tell me if it is greater than or less than 1/2. Okay, so if I have 1/2, I know that that is greater than 1/3 because 1 plus 1 is 2, which is less than 3, and so 1/3 is less than 1/2. Right, so now comparing 1/2 to 2/2. Well, check this out. When the numerator and denominator are the same, we know that equals 1 whole. So, of course, 1/2 is going to be less than 2/2. Okay, comparing 1/2 to 1/6. Now, also, think about it this way. What did we learn in the math message? When the numerators are the same, like in 1/2 and 1/6, look at the denominators. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the slice. So this pizza is cut up into 6 slices. This pizza is cut into 2 slices. So of course the the pizza in 6 slices is going to be smaller. So open up that crocodile mouth to 1/2. 1/2 is greater than 1/6. Okay, and in the last fraction we have 1/2 compared to 3/2. Now remember what we learned a couple lessons ago. When the, let me change colors here. When the numerator is bigger than the denominator, we learned that that fraction is bigger than 1 whole, right? If you're going to eat more slices than your pizza is even cut up into, you're going to have to bake another pizza. So 3/2 is actually even greater than a whole. So of course, that's going to be greater than 1/2. So 1/2 is less than 3/2. Okay, so now you have several different strategies for comparing when a fraction is greater than, equal to, or less than 1/2. We can look at the numerator and see if the numerator is half the denominator. We can also look to see if fractions have the same numerators, and we can look to see the bigger the denominator, the smaller the slice. And we can also be looking at if our numerators are even bigger than our denominators. That's bigger than a whole. So we have lots of strategies now to think about. All right, let's look at our clock here. It says 15 minutes earlier than the time on the clock, and then 15 minutes later than the time on the clock. All right, so right here on the clock, we have, if we want to do it to the very nearest minute, look at the little hand first. The little hand is on the 7. And then the big hand is just 1 minute or 1 tick mark past the 4, which would be 20. So we have 7:21 is the time on the clock. Okay? If we go back 15 minutes to go earlier, we could do 7:21 minus 15. Okay? We could do it mathematically that way, or we could just kind of think, well, let's go ahead and round it to the 20. Okay? 5, 10, 15. but we know we were just 1 minute past, so we can take it back there. So now we have 7:06. Okay, a few different ways that you could kind of figure that out. If we're going to do 15 minutes later than the time on the clock, okay, we can now do 7:21 plus 15, and we can add that time, or again, kind of round it to the easy number, round it to the 20, and do 5, 10, 15, and then go that extra little minute. And so we're going to have 7:36. Okay. All right, practice with the clock, guys. Hopefully you have an analog clock at home so that you can continue to work on telling time to the nearest minute and really work on that elapsed time. That's something that's really hard for us. So while you're at home, work on elapsed time. Sit down and look at the clock when you're getting ready to do your math lesson and write down the time on the clock. And then write down the time when you finish your math lesson and figure out how much time it took you to do the math lesson. Maybe you want to sit down at a certain time and say, okay, I'm going to work on math for the next 20 minutes. And then figure out what time you'll need to stop, and then that way you can kind of time yourself and give yourself a break. So lots and lots and lots of opportunities to practice elapsed time in real life when you're at home. All right, looking at number 5, think about your answer from problem 3, how you know whether a fraction is greater than 1/2. And guys, when I went over these, I kind of talked our way through. So I want you to kind of just pick one of those fractions and write a rule down below for how you knew that, like, let's say that you chose that 1/2 is less than 2/2. Just kind of write a rule for how you figured that out. All right, guys, that is Math Box 7-8. I will catch you in the next lesson.